Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Thursday, the 12th of December. Now, before I go on any further, I would be remiss in not saying happy birthday to my middle sister, Jennifer. May you have a wonderful day. May God bless you and keep you. May you have as many adventures as you want and none that you don't. And may you have lots of time to listen to Alvin and the Chipmunks singing Christmas carols and flopping down in front of your radio station or record player, CD player, however you listen to music, with your beautiful girls and celebrate like we used to when we were kids. I love you, sis. Okay, that being done, I had a bit of feedback early on Monday morning about Monday's video. And again, because I'm trying to get ahead of myself and make sure I don't get bogged down in not able to record these. I am recording this ahead of time, and this is Thursdays. I'm recording it on Monday, and early in the day, getting some early feedback on Monday's video. One of my regular YouTube friends, Paul, he often messages me with a voice message, which is incredible because not only do I get a chance to listen while I'm doing something else, but it gives me a chance to listen to another person's voice, which is amazing. And to have a voice with the words helps my imagination to understand how people are. But he said something to me in response to my talking about politics and does the church and should I have a voice in this. He said something pretty profound and reminded me that this is so much bigger than a YouTube channel. This is so much bigger than what I can do as a bishop in this little corner of the world. This is really about who we all are. He said, and Paul, if I am misquoting you, I apologize, but this is the gist of what I heard you saying in part of what you shared. We who have privilege, we who have freedom, must walk beside those who are marginalized simply for being who God created them to be. There are lots of us in North America who other people in the world will look at and say, who are you to complain about what you have? I came up against this when I was in England, at Canterbury, realizing just how differently North Americans are seen in the rest of the world. And recognizing that sometimes we come across as arrogant and self-centered because of the things we talk about. There are lots of places in the world that are not worried right now about sexuality or people being trans, or those very things that people in North America are being shunned for. They have difficulty living. Look at the Middle East. Look at Eastern Europe. The folks in Ukraine right now, I mean, yes, of course, if they are trans, if they are LGBTQ, if they are any of the things that people in North America look at and say, you are going to hell because of, yes, those are things they're concerned about, but they're more worried, I imagine, I don't know, haven't spoken to anybody from Ukraine or Gaza or Israel right now, but I'm thinking they're more worried about the fact that they're living in hell rather than what will happen after this life. Because the things they have to worry about are considerably more pressing than the things that we in North America have to worry about. We're worried about gas prices. We're worried about the price of eggs. We're worried about things like that. For them, they're worried about, is their house going to be bombed? Are their children going to be killed? Where will they live tomorrow? Where will they find eggs? Where will they get gas if they have a vehicle and money with which to buy gas to get put in it to get out of town quickly if they're being bombed? It's all relative, but the fact is that wherever we are, if we are not being persecuted, if we are not being pushed out of our homes, if we are not being physically or emotionally threatened, then we have the responsibility to act. We who have privilege, we who have freedom, must walk beside those who are marginalized simply for being who God created them to be. And whether that means because you're Ukrainian, God created you to be Ukrainian, and right now The Russians are marginalizing you because of who you are and where you live and the resources in your land that they would like to have power over, or whatever the reasons might be, whether you are from Gaza or Palestine or Israel and all of these things because of who God created you to be. If you live in North America and are being marginalized because of your gender or your desire to live into who you feel you were called by God to be, then those of us who don't, I am not from Gaza, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine. I am not LGBTQ. I am not trans. I have a roof over my head, a paycheck coming in twice a month, an office which is relatively warm in which to work, the resources such as this to deal with things like that, like what we're talking about. I am privileged. I am privileged. I have privilege. I have freedom. And no one at this time is threatening to take it away from me. The fact is that those of us who currently have privilege, those of us who currently have freedoms, then also have the responsibility by virtue of our humanity. And for those of us who are Christian, by virtue of our baptismal promises and our profession of Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, we have the responsibility. It is our job to do the work of not only walking beside and lifting up and encouraging people who do not have privilege and who do not have freedom, but we are called to be the ones who stand at the front lines, to say to others, you don't have the right to take that freedom away. I am fortunate as a woman. I currently in Canada do not have anyone telling me that I do not have autonomy over my own body. In Canada, as a matter of fact, I even have the right to try to make the decision about end-of-life issues if I ended up physically and emotionally in a place where, if I had a debilitating disease or something, I have some recourse as to how I would like my life to end. That is not the case in most places in the world, and I am aware of my privilege and I am aware of my freedom. I am also becoming more and more aware of the fact that because I have privilege and because I have freedom, I also have the responsibility to speak, and I have the responsibility to act. Now, there may come a time in our society when I won't have that freedom. We may be coming upon a time in the not so distant future when what I'm saying could be removed from YouTube, where people could censor me for what I'm saying. Last week, Nadia Boltz-Weber, a Lutheran pastor in the States who has incredible preacher, an incredible journey, very articulate, very down to earth. She had a message, a sermon that she shared, and for whatever reason, Facebook determined that the language used in that sermon was not appropriate for Facebook. Well, I did have a chance to find it before it was taken down someplace else, and I struggled to figure out what was the problem. It really was a call to arms that Christians around the world, people living in their everyday circumstances, should be standing up for those who aren't able to stand up for themselves. Very much what my friend Paul had said. And yet, the censorship on Facebook stated, for some reason, probably because too many people complained, or somehow created an algorithm that parsed her words and discovered that what she was saying was contrary to someone's opinion about what should be openly stated on Facebook. Her piece was taken down. And when I saw it quickly, I posted it, and it was immediately taken down. I tried it 3 times. And several other people, the same thing. We are living in a world in which our freedoms, our privileges are being encroached upon. And the biggest shame in that is that it took us until realizing that Facebook was removing posts, or people were saying you are being censored, or books that we have liked are being told they can't be they can't be in libraries or shared in schools. It took until those things hit home for us before people started to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right. We need to get out of ourselves, folks. We need to stop thinking so much about our own freedom and privilege that we would use them while we still have them to help other people. And so if indeed the rumors and rumors of rumors about camps being created for trans people in the States are true, then let's have the most porous border possible and allow people whose very lives are threatened and livelihoods and families might be threatened because of who they are, who they believe and discern God has made them to be, because they're not politically correct or politically acceptable to other people. Let's let them come here. Let's welcome them to our native land. Who knows? Maybe we might let in the person who discovers the cure to breast cancer, or the discovery of how we can help our bodies rebuild insulin if we're diabetic. We may discover that we welcome into our midst the person who discovers the real way to figure out the resources that we can use from Mars in ways that will not simply ruin yet another planet. If we who have privilege and freedom, as my friend Paul said, if we who have those things were to work together, to gather in small groups and build cohorts that could do the work of discovering and sharing our information and coming up with that, what they call that, a critical mass of people who can come up with new ideas and ways to stand up for those who can't stand for themselves, can you imagine how incredible this world would be? That's what we're called to do. As Christians, we are called to imagine how incredible God's world could be if we all worked to establish the right and the ability for all of God's creation. And as my friend Paul said, both humans and non-human brothers and sisters alike, what the world could be if we, all of God's creation, did indeed have the freedom and the privileges that God gave us when God said, "It is very good." Have a great day. I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel for Feel Good Friday. God bless. Stay safe, everybody. Happy Advent.